Thanks for sticking with us after the break, and welcome back to the Waiver Wire. It blows my mind that it's already week 7 of the NFL season. Bye weeks are starting to pile up, and that means picking up players on waivers has never been so important, especially with how many injuries we've seen already. With that in mind, here are 3 guys that can fill in for your starters and help you get back to the top of your division real fast. Let's start things off with an obscure pick. The Washington football team's backup tight end, Ricky Seals-Jones. I picked him up Saturday night after I had to replace Logan Thomas once he hit IR, and surprisingly, the tight end out of Texas A&M helped my fantasy squad find a much-needed victory. Going for 15.8 fantasy points on 4 receptions, 58 yards, and a score. Oh, and he also had a solid game last week against the Saints with 5 catches on 41 yards. Seals-Jones is also seeing a lot of targets with 15 in the last 2 games. Now, he does have a hard matchup against the Packers upcoming. Green Bay is the 4th best in the league when it comes to fantasy points allowed to tight ends, but I still believe he deserves to be a streaming option due to his experience and how many looks he gets. As of now, he was only owned in 19% of leagues, but with more and more bye weeks coming up, I would make a claim for him ASAP. He's going to go quick. On to number 2, if you have Justin Herbert, Dak Prescott, Josh Allen, or Kirk Cousins as your starting fantasy quarterback, you'll need to find someone else to start this week with them all sitting out with buys. If you don't have a plan B on your bench right now, don't worry. Mac Jones is here to save your team. He obviously isn't a long-term answer, but he can get the job done with a date against the struggling New York Jets in Week 7. In his last 2 matchups, he has 26.3 fantasy points with 460 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pair of interceptions. See, those aren't fantastic numbers, but I think he can have better fantasy production against some of these lesser opponents. As of now, the Jets allow the 3rd most fantasy points to quarterbacks and the 5th most passing touchdowns in the league. Any QB should easily drop more than 20 fantasy points against this weak Jets secondary. And this is exactly why Mac Jones is a perfect replacement for just this week. After Game 7, you could drop him and never use him, forget about him. But right now, Jones is only rostered in 12% of leagues, and I don't see many people making claims for him. He should be fairly easy to pick up on waivers. My final waiver wire recommendation is more of a keep him on your bench for a few weeks and see what he can do because he has the possibility of exploding. Of course, I'm talking about Ravens rookie wideout Rashod Bateman. The University of Minnesota product and first-round pick made his first start this week against the Los Angeles Chargers after suffering a hamstring injury last month. And in his first action as a pro, he caught 4 passes on 6 targets for 29 yards, also tying tight end Mark Andrews for the most targets on the team. Those obviously aren't game-changing stats, but with Lamar Jackson having the best passing season of his career so far, he's definitely worth a look. Also, you got to look at it this way. All of his catches were for first down, which is only going to build the trust between him and Lamar. Hollywood Brown and Mark Andrews are the clear favorite targets for Jackson, but Bateman being so heavily involved in his first game is a sign for a breakout in the future. He's already rostered in 14% of leagues after his first career start. So it's not long before he blows up and many people stash him away. Take my advice. Beat them to the punch. Bateman can easily be that X factor to get your team into the playoffs and make a run for the title. Okay, that's all the players I have for you this week. But be sure to check out my weekly article on the Collegian for more fantasy coverage. And don't go anywhere just yet. After the break, Matt and I returned on the desk for Hot or Not. You won't want to miss it.
I thought that was your best show yet. Thanks. You're definitely improving.